Tonight, from barren to brimming, the shelves at a Scarborough Food Bank are full after a public plea for help. The food bank was in desperate need of donations. It serves about 650 people a week, and the community came through. Plus,
how many years, how much money is my brother's life worth?
the family of a man allegedly killed by a drunk driver over the weekend calls for tougher penalties. And
to win someone's heart, it's really hard. You have to do something really special. And that's what they have done.
the family of a Mississauga toddler who almost drowned is thanking the people responsible for saving his life. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. The community is rallying around a Scarborough Food Bank tonight. The location was running low on donations, so staff posted a picture of the bare shelves on social media. And the call for help was answered. But as Ali Chasson tells us, they're not out of the woods yet.
We were worried that we weren't able to actually give food to those most in need in our community.
3 weeks ago, the food bank shelves were empty.
Typically, donations really fall during the summer months, and that's where we are right now, in a real low period.
So Agincourt Community Services took to Twitter, posting photos showing one lonely can on a shelf.
That really struck a chord. That was really a moment of awareness and also a call to action that we said we need to do this. It's our duty. This community gave to us, we need to give back.
George Scorsis grew up in Agincourt and made some calls.
Within weeks, we had friends, family, major businesses just come back to us and say, we're in.
Today, the trucks arrived.
Fresh corn, that's awesome.
I know, this is amazing. Our clients are going to love this.
Donations poured in.
I have been volunteering 3 years. I never seen something huge like this. Thank you for all the donation. To be honest, it's really helpful.
Shireen Ibrahim isn't just a volunteer, she's a client.
I am a widow. I lost my husband 5 years ago. And with the 3 kids, it's hard.
Are there some days where you have to say no to the kids?
Yeah, many times. Many times I have to say no, especially in Christmas time.
So let's talk about the types of food that we're donating.
People who need to access food banks aren't any less deserving of healthy, nutritious food. So typically we will ask for things like canned meats. They're always hard to come by. We are also one of the very few food banks that offer eggs and cheese and milk and fresh vegetables as well, because that's also an important part of people's diets.
The shelves are full here again, for now.
How long is that going to last?
To be honest, 2 to 3 days.
Wow.
That's it. We live in a city that has the haves and the have-nots. And we are here to take care of those less fortunate.
It's not about today, it's about tomorrow, it's about next week, and it's about next year. And we really want to make sure that this is a continuous level of support.
Ali Chasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a story now of grief and heartbreak turning to anger. A family is calling for tougher penalties for impaired driving. 39-year-old Paulo Briza died in a crash on the 401 Saturday afternoon, caused by an alleged drunk driver. That man was released on bail today, and Briza's family says they're stunned. Nick Bovair has their story tonight.
That's Paul. This is my baby brother. Yeah. This isn't going to be easy.
After 39 years, Carla Moyen's brother has been reduced to photos and memories.
I love him. I'm going to miss you. I miss him.
She described him as the center of her family, adored by his parents and especially his nieces and nephews.
And he was present for all of them, for everything that they were doing. So I have a nephew that plays hockey, and he was at every single hockey game. My son plays guitar, and he was at every single gig.
On Saturday afternoon, Paolo Brizzi was killed in a two-car crash on the 401. Police say the driver of the other vehicle was impaired and refused to provide a breath sample. Brizzi's family finds those allegations impossible to believe.
Especially after the Neville Lake incident where 3 children died, and that was a while ago. Nothing has been put into place that I don't know, that either detect something in the car, stricter laws, something that scares people.
At court today, the 55-year-old driver was released on $20,000 bail, and he won't be allowed to drive or drink.
I don't think there's anybody out there that feels as though it's a satisfactory process.
Carolyn Swinson lost her son and father in separate drunk driving incidents. She now counsels grieving families.
The sentences have been creeping up, but are they strong enough? No, I don't think there's any of us out there who would say that they're tough enough.
There's no indication yet about a possible plea from the driver. Either way, the family says not much can help now.
How does your family move forward now that you've lost someone who was, it sounds like, holding you guys together in so many different ways?
We honestly don't know. My dad keeps saying to me, it's too much. It's too much.
Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Vaughan.
Well, another pedestrian fatality on city streets tonight. This one taking place in North York. A vehicle struck a pedestrian around 9 o'clock near Laurel Leaf Road and Steeles Avenue. That's just east of Bayview. Paramedics say they rushed one person to hospital with life-threatening injuries, but that person later died. Police say the driver remained on the scene for the investigation, but the cause of what happened isn't known at this time. It was another night of violence across the city. 3 separate shootings overnight that sent 4 people to hospital. Let's start at Weston Road in the 401 with what police are calling a targeted shooting near a popular drive-through.
They shot it like several times. I hear like about 10 times. It's happened so quick.
Now, the witness said he saw 2 suspects running from the scene late last night. He says he ran to help the victim, who was on the ground covered in blood. The man who was shot is believed to be in his 60s and is in critical condition in hospital. Now, earlier in the evening, police were called to a strip mall near Kipling and Finch. 2 men were shot there. They managed to make their own way to hospital before emergency crews arrived. Their injuries are not life-threatening. And Peel police are dealing with a shooting that happened around 1 this morning near Castlemore and the Gore Road. A man was shot in the arm and abdomen. Police found a number of bullet casings on the scene. Garage door of a home in the area also had bullet holes. The victim, in this case, though, is expected to survive. Colette Kennedy's here with her first look at the forecast. In the next 24 hours, we've got to be tracking some thunderstorms.
Yeah, we are certainly looking at some active weather. We've got all the ingredients, Mike, and of course we've had some watches warnings been carrying through these evening hours. But I want to also look ahead into tomorrow because still going to have that very humid air mass in place, but a cold front coming in, and that really provides the lifting mechanism. So even for Wednesday, some of the more significant stuff may be off towards the east and certainly stateside. However, I want to caution you that still some isolated severe on Wednesday potential in southwestern Ontario towards the city and to the north as well around the GTA. So that's something we'll be watching carefully into tomorrow. Through the overnight, still some of these pop-up cells we're experiencing. And then towards the early morning hours and into the morning rush, we'll be seeing some heavier rounds coming through the GTA and also down around the Niagara Peninsula. And then what happens is we do get into some breaks during the day and then another wave coming in into the afternoon. So maybe even some sunshine midday, but that really only adds to the volatility we would be seeing into the afternoon. By tomorrow evening, things will be clearing out and setting us up for big changes with our weather pattern. But overnight tonight, 20 degrees, still very muggy. Tomorrow, 28, feeling like 38. But in terms of some of those temperatures we're going to be seeing, I'll fill you in on all the details coming up, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
A Mississauga family is giving heartfelt thanks to Peel Region's paramedics tonight after their 3-year-old son nearly drowned when he fell into a hot tub, but was pulled out of the water and saved. Adrian Chung met up with the family today.
The iPad and cell phone keep his attention. 3-year-old Armand Danish is both curious and shy, the same boy he was before he had to fight for his life.
Because I didn't know what situation he was in, how is he doing, is he going to survive?
In May, the toddler fell into a hot tub when his grandfather stepped away for 5 minutes. His body floated to the surface of the water. Within 3 minutes after the 911 call, paramedics were on scene, rushing to save him.
Probably my hardest 10 minutes ride to home. It looked like for years, like it's 10 minutes looked like 10 years.
Armand went into a coma for the next 36 hours. Eventually, he regained a steady heartbeat and survived. Within hours of waking, Armand was back to playing on his hospital bed.
They responded so fast.
The Danish family met with the first responders who saved their little boy, thanking them for what they call a miracle.
The word thank you was such a small thing at that moment to tell them. I just made one expression, and I told them that you guys have really won our hearts.
Ramin doesn't take the quick actions of first responders for granted.
This is the arm that happened.
Ramin barely survived an explosion when he was 9, living in Afghanistan. And even at that age, he knew help wasn't coming.
I would say there's no comparison. You know, you're in a bad situation. You know that there will be no police, there will be no firefighters, and there will be no paramedics coming in, period. Whether you're going to go make it to the hospital, it's a question.
But that's been the exact opposite of his experience living in Canada, something he says should never be taken for granted.
I think he's very lucky to be born in Canada. God was in his side, but he has to know what other peoples were involved in saving his life and who he should be in the future.
Adrian Chung, CBC News, Mississauga.
A touching story. Well, plenty of discussion tonight about a list of potential names for 3 new streets in the Etobicoke area. The city's running an online poll letting the public vote on 10 potential names submitted by residents. Now, on the list, you'll find Rob Ford, Darwin Cook, Westwood, and Bindagen. That is the Ojibwe word for welcome. The new streets will be part of the reconstruction of the 6 Points interchange in Etobicoke. That was formerly known as the Spaghetti Junction. The redesign includes wide boulevards, improved access to Kipling subway station, and separated bike lanes on all major streets. Now, work began back in spring of 2017. It's expected to wrap up in the spring. Here's what some of you thought of the proposed street names.
Westwood is the theater that I went to many, many years ago when I first moved into the condo across the street.
Darwin Cook, because I read graphic novels myself, and it'd be nice to honor someone who contributes to the arts.
Westwood, welcome. What was the third one? The comic? Those 3 I would pick.
I just remember I didn't pick Rob Ford. I rated it the lowest. I'm like, nope.
Now, you can vote on the City of Toronto website, but you have to hurry. The poll closes September 2nd. Well, it's a big plan to bring a lot more green space from Corso Italia all the way to the Annex. But there's a few obstacles in the way before the Green Line becomes a reality. We'll explain why coming up. Well, some neighbors in Vaughan gathering tonight to remember what happened 10 years ago today. Right around the supper hour, two powerful tornadoes tore through the city, hitting several neighborhoods hard. A decade later, many still keen to share stories from that night.
So I was home with my children and my husband. The skies were an ominous color, like a gray-green color. It was about 5 after 6, and my husband came running down the stairs screaming tornado. At that point, the windows all smashed in the back. The sliding door was gone. We ran to the basement. It took literally seconds, 30 seconds, we were done.
130 homeowners were involved with tonight's barbecue. All money raised will go to a local food bank. The tornadoes damaged 600 homes, with 200 of them deemed unfit for habitation. Now, in the wake of the disaster, officials urged improvements to the public alert system. Mandatory emergency cell phone alerts started nationwide in 2018. We should find out starting tomorrow who's been selected to run the next round of legal pot shops in Ontario. There are 42 cannabis store licenses up for grabs spread throughout the province. Toronto is expected to get 13 of them, with another 6 opening across the GTA. Another 8 stores are destined for First Nations communities. Right now, there are 25 legal pot shops operating throughout the province. Well, there are plans underway in Toronto to transform a hodgepodge of disconnected green spaces, parking lots, and a hydro corridor into a new park called the Green Line. The project will span several neighborhoods from Corso Italia to the Annex. But as Lisa Shing tells us, there are some big hurdles to overcome before anyone gets to enjoy the space.
The green space here in the Dovercourt neighborhood of Toronto isn't much to look at. But that doesn't deter people who live around here from using it. They've been asking the city to upgrade it, and now the city has agreed.
What do you think about more green space potentially coming to this area?
More green space? Yeah, we definitely need it around here. There's only this one here and a small one, a really small one there. Do you want more parks?
Yeah, because I want to play on more parks.
The Green Line will connect a 5-kilometer stretch of hydro towers, parks, and parking lots, linking several neighborhoods from Corso Italia south of St. Clair to the Annex at Davenport and DuPont. Pedestrians and cyclists will pass community gardens, plazas, and public art along the new route.
I am a little apprehensive. The city can be slow in rolling things out, but I am going to give it my full faith that it will be executed because I think it's something this neighborhood can definitely use.
The process has been slow. It's taken 7 years to mock up the plans and could take longer than that to finally open up.
What are some of the challenges associated with something so widespread?
Well, the challenges are that it's not cohesive, that it really is a segmented corridor. Unlike some of the other long corridor projects, if you go to a suburban hydro corridor, it'll go kilometers without any breaks.
Hydro One owns a good portion of the land, so there are safety considerations, and many of the parking lots that run through the future park are privately owned, so the city has to wait for the land to open up.
We fully anticipate at some point in the future, we can't pinpoint the date, but that the need for parking will diminish.
The chair of the committee that oversees parks admits it's a long-term project, but he says the Green Line has the support of council.
It gets people outdoors, it gets people into pedestrian corridors, it's connectivity among various communities.
City Councillor James Pasternak says other green thoroughfares like the 22-kilometer Finch hydro corridor has been a huge success.
On any given day, you're saying there's a lot of people that come out and use this space.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You'll see dozens of teams as far as the eye can see.
The Green Line won't be finished for at least a decade, and the cost, about $10 million. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
I've always wanted to meet like someone that plays games for like a living.
Yeah. You guys are your heroes. They're your heroes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Living the dream, isn't it? Well, soon they'll be able to watch their video game heroes in their hometown. Still ahead, the legendary Toronto Concert Hall that's about to become the home arena for an esports team.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Team Canada with a win over New Zealand today, an exhibition game in the lead up to the FIBA World Cup tournament in China. Aaron Best right there leading the squad as 6 Canadians scored in the double figures today. Canada wins 122-88. Meanwhile, there are reports Sacramento Kings guard Corey Joseph has withdrawn from Team Canada. He's been a fixture on the team, but apparently he's been having second thoughts after a plethora of recent high-profile withdrawals. Canada will start playing in the FIBA World Cup on September 1st in China. Now, to qualify for the Olympics, the team needs to be one of the top 2 finishers from the Americas region. Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. We've got a muggy day on tap tomorrow, and then things change.
Yeah, things are going to change dramatically in terms of how the air is going to feel. It's going to be drying out, cooler too. The temperature's even dipping a few degrees below seasonal. But in the meantime, we've got some of this active weather to contend with, not just overnight tonight, but some stormy conditions into tomorrow too as that cold front passes by. But then Thursday onward, that's when we're talking about quite a bit of sunshine. In fact, all the way it looks like it carries on into the weekend. Wait till you see the 5-day forecast. But I mentioned temperatures will be a little bit below seasonal as we get towards the end of the week. Well, what is seasonal? 25, just over for our average high, and just under 14 degrees for an overnight low. We're not going to be seeing that tonight. Boy, oh boy, wait till you see the overnight lows still hanging in there around 20 degrees. Some of the highs from earlier today, and you'll notice St. Catharines at 30 degrees, Windsor 30, but the humidex today 40, so significant heat there. We're looking at some spotty showers and thunderstorms, some heavier downpours still out there through the overnight hours tonight. Southwestern Ontario then tracking towards, if you're part of that commute that's out there really early in the morning, well, the good news is, of course, you tend to move a little bit better, but some of these downpours could hold you back just a little bit, especially there around Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, through that region, some heavier amounts. We'll see that in the morning hours, so that's kind of one wave. Then we get into some breaks, likely even seeing some sunshine around the area, and then into the afternoon, we'll see redevelopment. And then once that cold front finally passes through into tomorrow evening, we get into a clearing trend. Still a bit of cloud cover around into Thursday, but not much. And more sunshine settles in as high pressure builds in. But that colder air is going to be moving in as well. And that's why the temperatures are going to be a few degrees cooler than seasonal. Overnight tonight, there you go, those overnight lows, 21 degrees in southwestern Ontario. Another day where you're going to see those temperatures around 30. The humidex similar, not quite as high as it was today, but certainly similar at 38. 20 degrees to 21 for St. Catharines, the overnight lows around the GTA. And your last hot, steamy day, I don't mean for the rest of the season, we might get there again, but that we're going to be seeing in the short term, because after tomorrow, things really do change. And this is what I mean. Thursday's high, then 23 degrees. Friday, 23, but mostly sunny skies. And at this point, it is looking like that ridge kind of hangs in until about Monday. Things start to change over. So 24 both Saturday and Sunday with sunshine, Mike.
It's a nice break, but I hope that's not it for the warm weather this summer.
Yeah, and I don't think it will be. We usually have some really hot days into September as well. So we're going to be okay for those of us who like a little humidity.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Toronto may be classing up the burgeoning esports industry. Toronto's professional video game team, yes, we have one, the Toronto Defiant, will get to host the Overwatch League twice this upcoming season, with matches taking place on stage at Roy Thomson Hall.
I mean, do you think 2,600 people are going to come and sit here at Roy Thomson Hall to watch these guys play live?
Yeah, we have no doubt about that.
The Overwatch League consists of 20 teams from right around the world, all playing the first-person shooter Overwatch. Last year, all games were played in LA, but now the league is spreading out with matches in 19 cities in 6 different countries. Roy Thomson Hall will host games over one weekend in April and another in August. Ticket prices haven't been released, but organizers say the top seats, well, they could be on par with what you would pay for the Leafs. Question is, will the law firms and banks downtown be writing off Overwatch tickets as business entertaining expenses? Before we go, tomorrow on Q, Gabrielle Carteris is on. She's back on TV playing a version of herself on the very meta reboot of Beverly Hills 90210. She's also the head of one of the biggest entertainment workers unions in Hollywood. You can hear that tomorrow at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.